The United Kingdom is facing a period of turmoil and instability, as evidenced by a number of factors. In just 6 years, the country has gone through 5 different prime ministers, adding to the uncertainty and instability. The British pound has hit its lowest point against the dollar since 1985, reflecting the weakening of the economy. The economy is currently in a state of decline, with experts predicting a long and potentially record-breaking recession. This has led to a declining standard of living as inflation rises to nearly 10% and economic growth remains sluggish. To make matters worse, Scotland is on the brink of declaring independence, which could potentially trigger similar movements in Northern Ireland, leading to the UK's exclusion from the top 10 largest economies in the world. This is a far cry from the dominant global power the UK once was. Just over 100 years ago, the British Empire spanned from New Zealand to Canada and from India across the Middle East and Africa. At its peak in 1929, the British Empire ruled over a quarter of the world's land, and the British pound was the default currency globally. The British economy was booming, reflecting the country's immense wealth and power. London was once the political and financial capital of the world, with the largest companies such as East India based there. East India was so powerful that it had its own army consisting of over 200,000 professional soldiers. However, in less than 100 years, the United Kingdom lost more than 90% of its territories, and its influence has significantly declined. The value of the British pound has been steadily decreasing, and the country's economy is no longer among the top 5 largest economies in the world. If the UK continues on its current trajectory, it is possible that the country may no longer exist in less than 10 years. The breakup of the UK may lead to independence declarations by regions like Scotland and potentially even London. The Bank of England is desperately trying to lower its interest rates to prevent the economy from slipping into recession. But with the highest inflation in decades, the bank has had to raise its rates to 3.5%, the highest it has been in 14 years. An increase in interest rates makes borrowing more expensive, leading to a decline in borrowing by companies. This, in turn, results in lower wages, job cuts, and the cancellation of long-term projects that are not expected to generate enough revenue in the near future. In this situation, the focus will shift to reducing expenses and increasing cash flow. The decline in purchasing power is expected to be severe, wiping out the past 8 years of economic growth as wage increases fail to keep pace with inflation and rising interest rates. It's as if the last 8 years of progress never happened. In times of economic turmoil, it's important to make it easier to do business in order to attract investment and growth. Ireland's decision to reduce its corporate tax rate to 12.5% attracted a large number of companies to open their headquarters there, resulting in a doubling of the country's GDP per capita compared to the United Kingdom. On the other hand, the United Kingdom is taking the opposite approach by raising taxes in response to its struggling economy. This is a counterproductive move, as higher corporate taxes will drive away companies, leading to job losses and higher unemployment. In turn, this will reduce the number of people paying taxes. The current state of the world is in an economic recession, and the government's response is to raise taxes. This is not the ideal solution for a number of reasons. Firstly, it is placing a burden on those who are still managing to make some money during these difficult times. The government's actions show how desperate they have become, as they are left with no other choice but to try and squeeze more out of the citizens who are still able to contribute. However, the problem goes beyond just the immediate impact of raising taxes. The government has become so big and inefficient that they are unable to redirect funds from underperforming projects to more important initiatives. This lack of agility and effectiveness is a clear indication of the dire state of the country's finances. The recession is also expected to lead to a decline in home prices, with projections suggesting a drop of up to 9% in the next year. When home prices start to decline, people are less likely to buy as they wait for prices to reach the bottom. This has a compounding effect, causing a downward spiral in the housing market. A saying can be said for stocks: when prices fall, people hesitate to invest as they wait for the market to reach its lowest point. In conclusion, the government's decision to raise taxes during a recession is not the best course of action. It places a burden on those who are still making some money and highlights the government's inefficiencies and inability to effectively address the country's financial issues, the declining housing market, and the compounding effect of deflation. The predicted 9% decline in home prices in the United Kingdom could be devastating for the economy. This drop in demand could compound, causing prices to double or even triple, leading to another housing crisis in the next year or two. The situation in the UK is dire, and the current crisis could be a final straw that bursts the housing market bubble. In the early 2000s, the average home price in the UK was slightly over £93,000, while the average salary was £19,000. Fast forward to 2022, home prices have skyrocketed by 300%, while the average wage has only increased to £26,000, which is not even a 50% increase. This makes buying a home more expensive than ever for the average person in the UK, and the housing market has become one giant bubble that could burst at any moment, bringing the entire economy down with it. The combination of declining home prices, rising fuel and food costs, and an already struggling economy creates the perfect recipe for economic turmoil. This is especially devastating for people who have taken out mortgages and will now see the value of their homes plummet right in front of their eyes, wiping out their life savings. The situation in the UK is not helped by the fact that they have left the European Union and are now struggling to grow in the 21st century without the support of the EU. Scotland, on the other hand, voted to remain in the EU and is now questioning why they should suffer the same fate as England if they had chosen to stay in the European Union. The UK government has made it difficult for Scotland to hold another independence referendum, but the current crisis in the UK could lead to more political turmoil. The current crisis in the UK is not just the result of one event, but a combination of multiple crises that have been accumulating over decades. The Brexit vote alone created political turmoil that the UK has yet to fully recover from, and now the pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine have only added to the country's worst economic crisis since World War II. The situation in the UK is dire, and the future is uncertain, but one thing is for sure, the UK is no longer the empire that once ruled the world, and they must find a way to adapt and grow in this new world order.